general meeting. Before we get into the formal business of the meeting, just a few remarks from me on the year that we had and looking ahead to the coming year. You know, for better or for worse, we had a pretty busy year at Cibpa Toronto. I'll touch on a couple of the highlights. I think the first one, and it's an acknowledgement to you, our members, we did more than double our membership count in the past year, which is a great sign and you know, showed momentum throughout the year that we have a good steady flow of new members joining our organization and taking note of some of the things we're doing in the community. We did launch our Italia 360 incubator program this past year, and our inaugural run was a success. Again, we partnered with DMZ to launch that program, and our foundational partners in that were RBC, Deloitte, and Pace Law. And we did have 7 applicants that we selected from all the ones that had submitted to put them through the program. And our successful recipient, which was a great idea, you know, it included developing an active wear line of clothing for women entirely out of recycled material, was our successful winner. And her prize did include a trip to Italy, principally because that's where she is sourcing some of the material for her clothing. She didn't take it initially, but hopefully it'll be this summer that she's able to go. We were also active in giving back to the community this year. All told, we raised and distributed almost $350,000 this past year. Some of the highlights in that included $125,000 that was given to the University of Toronto St. Michael's College for the establishment of a chair in minimally invasive heart surgery. We gave $100,000 to TMU for the establishment of a scholarship in the name of Sergio Marchione. We established an endowment at the University of Toronto in memory of or in recognition of Frank Iacobucci. And in honor of Lucy Iacovelli, we gave $25,000 to George Brown College this past year as well. There are a number of other smaller donations that you will see in our financial statements for those who want to take a look at them. On the Education Foundation, Bob tells me we are at our $1.5 million mark of cumulative funds dispersed. Our goal is to reach $2 million, so we'll be continuing to work towards that over the coming year. And I think one of the things coming out of the pandemic that we really wanted to do was try to elevate our profile and brand on social media and in the community. And that remains a work in progress, and so we will continue to do that. If I look ahead to this coming year, and there is on each table a calendar of upcoming events. Those are the larger events, and we have a few others that are in the planning. The things I'll highlight are we will be coming back with a expanded version of Italia 360. In that we picked up more sponsors, which allows us to include more participants in the program. And we will be not only working with DMZ again, but we will have cooperation from York University as well. We will be holding our gala this year on September 20th at the Royal York again. We expect that to be a bigger event than in the past, and we have some worthwhile recipients that the board will be evaluating for the awards that we'll be recognizing that night. In terms of immediate term, we do have on June 26th our bursary dinner, which is coupled with our Next Gen award presentation that evening. And we have a couple things in the works that hopefully will bring out some relatively high profile folks from the political arena towards the latter half of this year as well. With that, I will, and the last thing I should say that I almost neglected is this year we did establish a youth advisory committee, and with the goal of really trying to increase the membership among students and professionals below the age of 30 in order to make sure that the CIBPA remains vibrant in the years to come, and we look forward to the input and contributions from our Youth Advisory Committee over the next year. With that, I will now turn to the formal business of the AGM that we have to take care of tonight. Really we have four items that we're going to cover. The first is the presentation and approval of the financial statements for the year ended March 31st, 2024. The second is to appoint our accountants for the year ending March 31st, 2025. And then we'll move to our slate of directors, and we will have certain individuals who will be presented for a return to the board in terms of incumbent directors, and we will also entertain motions this evening for new directors. The one item that is not on your agenda, but in the interest of completeness, we will also table for approval is the minutes from last year's annual general meeting. And at this point, those minutes are available for anyone who wishes to read them. But in the absence of anyone wishing to read them, I will entertain a motion from Bob. Can I ask you to move that the minutes of last year's annual general meeting be approved?
So move we accept last year's minutes.
And a seconder from Sabrina. All in favor? Okay, the minutes are approved. With that, I will ask Tony Cipriani to come up to present the financial statements for the year ended March 31st, 2024.
Can we get some copies, please? Is there no copies? Financial statements.
Thank you, Anthony. One of the most difficult things we have in this operation is the number of Anthonys that also have the name C attached to their name. I'm also known as Anthony, nicknamed Tony. On behalf of the CIBPA's president, Tony Cucuzzo, its executives, its directors, and past president John McCady, I want to welcome you all here. I'm also pleased to present to you the compilation engagement report from the D'Angelo Sorrendi. Reading the comments, it confirms that they did not perform an audit engagement or a review engagement. But I should also point out that Phil Quaranta pointed out that Phil Maeda did an excellent job for us to put all the facts together and send it to the accountants for distribution. Thank you, Phil. It wasn't on my script. I'm going to briefly touch on the key highlights. The working capital is a very vital part of our balance sheet. And I can tell you that very little changes made between 23 and 24, the 2-year comparisons. The net difference between the 2 years is minus 7,000. One of the things that if you were to focus on the current assets, you would have seen on March 31st a total of 176,000 in receivables. We have significantly reduced that over the last month and a half or two, and right now the over 90 days is down to less than $18,000, and we have convinced the accountants that they're fully collectible. Now, last year, among the other things that we took care of was the government guaranteed loan. That was paid out as agreed in the contracts and terms that they give us. And this resulted in a profitable year, and our unrestricted, which is also known as earned surplus, increased by 31,000 and now stands at 176,000 as of March 31st of this year. There could be a few explanations why we could have done better. Last year, we didn't have a golf tournament, and this year, we're optimistic with the team that we put together to see our totals improve significantly. At this point, I want to bring it forth to the table to see if they have any questions regarding our financials. Otherwise, we can move to get it approved.
Any questions on the financials?
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve the financial statements for the year ended March 31st, 2024. Can I have a seconder? Okay, Michelangelo Popolo is the seconder. All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried.
And in conjunction with that, I put a motion forth for us to consider D'Angelo Sorrenti as our accountants for the year 2024 to 2025. We have Nino and we have Walter second. Everybody in favor, say aye or put your hand up. Thank you. We will officially announce that when we see them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cipriani. So that brings us to our directors for the coming year, being our year ending March 31st, 2025. In terms of the slate of directors, we have 9 incumbent directors who are being put forward for re-election to the board. And those include John Lettieri as immediate past president, Sabrina Morelli, Tony Cipriani, Laura Salvatore, Michelangelo Popolo, John Paul DiGennaro, Bob Sacco, and Tina Gonzalez as the representative from the women of the CIBPA. Before we put that to a vote, I want to call to the floor if there are any further nominations to be presented.
I'd I'd like to nominate Nino.
So Nino, our past president, has been nominated. Is there a seconder?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Tony Polano. Any other nominations from the floor? Okay, Marianne Cordeliano, another past president. Do we have a seconder?
Tina.
Seconded by Tina Gonzalez. So, any other nominations or questions before the full slate is presented for a vote? Okay, seeing none. So, our proposed slate for the directors serving for the year ending March 31st, 2025 consists of John Lettieri, Sabrina Morelli, Tony Cipriani, Laura Salvatore, Michelangelo Popolo, Tina Gonzalez, John Paul DeGennaro, Bob Sacco, myself, and the two that have been presented tonight, Nino and Marianne. And with that slate, I'll entertain a motion to approve the slate as presented. Can I have a mover? Moved by Angela Iannitello. Can I have a seconder?
Anna.
Oh, seconded by Anna Garrido. All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried and the slate of directors is approved for the coming fiscal year. That concludes the formal part of tonight's meeting. But before we close, I'll open the floor if there's any questions or comments from the membership that we want to address.
Actually, Tony, I do have a question. It's not about finances, but something you spoke about for John. Is this time to be asking that question?
Please do.
I'm actually would like to know how the youth committee was presented. How was it formed? How was it involved? How was it presented to the rest of the members of CIBPA?
Yeah. So it's a bit of an experiment, I will say. When we when we presented to the board or discussed as the board our strategy going forward in terms of growing our membership and therefore enhancing the probability of our sustainability through the next generation, as well as expanding our influence, one of the key elements that was identified is we really need to capture more of our youth in the community. And by youth, I'm going to be fairly broad here and say that it's both our student and our young professional cohort. And so with that, we looked at a couple of things. One is continuing to look at our board composition to make sure we have people who are going to be focused on reaching that young professional bracket. But we realized we were woefully unequipped to know what exactly would engage the youth component of the community. And so we reached out to a couple of volunteers, and the chair of that committee, Brianna, is here this evening. And we said, let's start small and start with a working group and see if they generate some ideas for the board. And so they're really there to advise the board on what types of initiatives should we be putting in place and putting our effort and resources behind that would attract that demographic. So the way it will work going forward is there will be select times during the year where the youth committee will present ideas and status of some of the initiatives moving forward to the board. And from our perspective, we have to evaluate the ones and figure out which ones we can support effectively and make a go of. This is the first year. It really was put in place in the latter half of this past year, so this is actually the first annual meeting that we can say that we have that committee. And hopefully we'll hear great things going forward.
I can make a suggestion. My suggestion is as follows. As a educator myself, and I speak for Marina as well, it would be nice actually to be able to speak to the youth, to actually help them along in developing ideas as well, given the plethora of experience that myself and other people come from in the field of education, looking at another sector to help out with that aspect. If looking at youth membership and the progression of youth in the following years to come, that would be something of interest to present to others who may not be part of education, so we can help along.
Great idea, and thank you for bringing it up. We do have a board liaison who's appointed to support that committee, but not from the field of education, so probably lacking the breadth of experience and ideas that someone who has that experience could bring forward. So we'll be in touch in terms of supporting that committee going forward.
Yeah, it sounds like you're talking about mentorship, and because the two people you talked about are also on the Education Foundation, I think that the Education Foundation should also have a role to play on that side of the agenda for education and youth and everything else. So we'll connect all of the dots when it comes to that as well.
Yeah, great suggestion. Great suggestion. Any other questions or comments?
Oh, and by the way, Brianna, who's the chair, is also on the Education Foundation as well.
I'm not hearing any other questions, and so at this point, we can adjourn the formal part of the meeting. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Nino. Seconded by Michelangelo. All in favor? Any opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you, Bob. Thanks, everyone. Now we can just chit chat, which is more fun.
Questa è un meeting annuale 2024. Spiegaci in inglese, non ti chiedo in italiano se non hai. Qual è lo spirito con cui si inizia appunto a programmare e ad includere anche le nuove generazioni?
La nostra organizzazione adesso è 72 anni in vita, è importante che può continuare per un altro 72 anni e per aver successo a continuare un altro 72 anni ci vuole la gioventù che porta idee più moderne e le cose più importanti per lei, perché sono differenti dalla mia generazione e quella di quando è stato fondato la Cibpa.
E quindi se ti è troppo difficile parliamo in inglese, ma in che modo questi giovani possono essere sollecitati e possono apportare nuove idee anche nell'organizzazione degli eventi che verranno fatti, le nuove proposte?
Well, it's still early in terms of nuove proposte, and really vediamo durante quest'anno quali idee vogliono portare fuori. Hanno formato solo dentro l'ultimo 3-4 mesi di quest'anno e adesso vediamo dove vogliono portare la nostra organizzazione è quello che dobbiamo fare.
Sono sempre maggiori le aziende che stanno diciamo, venendo qui in Canada e che chiedono supporto a Cibpa.
New immigranti, yeah. Look, we're here to serve the entire community. So it's not that we're listening to youth at the exclusion of others. That's just more of a natural progression of how we move through the decades and continue to keep the organization strong. And so we're here to support new immigrants who come to Canada, and to support our existing community who've been with us for many, many years. Think of this as more an addition to what our scope and mandate is.
E sempre nuove aziende che sono in relazione con le aziende italiane e canadesi, rapporti Italia-Canada.
Scusi,
Le aziende che hanno sempre maggiori rapporti tra l'Italia e il Canada e che vengono qui per aprire nuove attività.
yeah, again, we have a number of existing programs that are meant to support our more established members as well as our new arrivals in Canada. And that really is everything from helping them integrate into the Italian-Canadian community here in Toronto and helping them build the network that will help them be successful as they find their new home here in Canada. And so we will always continue to play that role. And as a much more mature community than we were in 1952 when the organization was formed, we can do that much more easily given the scope and reach of our organization.
Avete stabilito recentemente un'importante collaborazione con il NIAF USA.
Yes, we're very proud of our strategic partnership with NIAF, and we expect that to be really valuable for us because now it's not just us speaking as a 2 million person organization here in Canada. We are a 20 million North American organization. And that allows us to access their network and their benefits and reciprocate when it's valuable for them to access our network and our benefits, all to better serve our collective community here in North America.
Grazie e buon lavoro.
Grazie.